Morning, Chris.
Hey Art, good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Where you driving
Awesome.
to today?
I'm actually heading to company yard. I've got a leaky DEF tank, the DEF diesel exhaust fluid. It's
Yeah.
what they use. Yeah. So it smells like synthetic pig urine.
Oh my gosh.
It blew out yesterday, and so my cab was smelling like a pig pissoir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be in the back. I'm gonna turn off my video and audio so I don't interrupt the training. I'll be listening in the background while I go and get the truck checked in and
Oh, great.
get all of this taken care of. But I want to
Awesome.
bid you good morning. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good morning.
All right. Cheers.
What's up, David? Good
Chris, what's going on? Good to see you.
to see you too.
I saw you be here early and I said, what else do I have to do?
Come on. Are you in Florida? Is that where you live?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. Okay.
Yeah, but I met a bunch of folks in Tampa when I wouldn't even say Brian threw the dinner together.
Hmm.
It was Mark and Bob that threw a Tampa dinner together,
Yep.
which I was very, very quick to take the chance and run down and do.
Yeah, that's where I met you.
Yeah, that was just so awesome. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a great night.
I don't know, man. Like this day and age, the with everybody so fragmented and fewer people than ever going into an office,
Hmm.
I find the value, I find the value of getting on a plane whenever there's a chance and I can afford it to be just to be so huge.
Yep.
Like I mean I got to meet Mark Ford a couple months ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean it had nothing to do with marketing
Hmm.
or copywriting, but it was an art thing that he put together at his facility.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I mean it's incredible. He's got this whole building and he's got a cigar lounge and bar and jujitsu studio on the ground floor, and then basically a museum on the second floor. I
Mm.
think that's where his office is too. And these people were like, "Man, you came down from New Jersey for this surrealist art exhibition." Saying like, well, I really do think the art is cool and I love going to art shows, but I was really hoping that the man in charge was going to show up just so I could shake his hand.
Yeah.
So,
Is that in Delray?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. So like, he's got and it's funny, he's got this bookshelf in the cigar bar. One of the bookshelves just has all of his books, which are, he probably wrote 2 dozen books. The guy's so prolific. And he had a hardcover copy of Great Leads,
Mm.
which
Hmm.
I don't know if that exists anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I was just like, after the show, just sitting there flipping through a handful of his books that I hadn't read yet. But seem to be a lot of folks in our world in different parts of Florida, aren't there?
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of folks. Rich Sheffrin and Todd Brown, Kevin Rogers down there, Dan, Doberman Dan. It's like a hot spot for
Oh
direct
wow! So Rich
response.
and Todd, I didn't even know that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Rich is in Delray.
Was
Todd
was
may
he
be in
ever
Delray.
was he ever with he was never with Agora, was he? Or is that exactly why he's in Delray?
Yeah, he worked I think as a consultant with them I think he still consults with them
Oh,
for many years. And
okay.
I think that's how Todd got brought in to working with
Oh,
Agora as well.
wow. All right.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's overwhelming. There can be so many people to learn from.
Yeah, definitely. There's plenty of really great options.
Yeah, it's a good problem. It's a good problem as long as you know how to deal with it, I think.
Right, right. Mark's book, the first one of his I read was Ready, Fire, Aim, and that one was such a great book. Um, it's probably my top 10 list of like business marketing books that I've
Is
read.
that right? Oh man, I really have to check it out then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious as to get sort of everybody's top 10 books and why.
Mm,
Or not with the why, just the list. But
yeah.
obviously so many classics that a lot of people know and talk about, but I'm sure there are just as many books that are lesser known that are so valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this course pairs really. Who is the author again, Chris?
You cut out for a second, Theo. What were you saying?
I was saying I think this course pairs really well with Great Leads, Michael
Yeah.
Masterson.
Yep.
I think he had a pseudonym. What was it? Something Ford.
No,
Uh,
Masterson was this
Yeah.
the pseudonym.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is the
Yeah.
pseudonym.
because he's
But
got the customer awareness scale in there from
Yeah,
Gene and the
that's it,
whole
Dave.
like,
yeah.
yeah, because that allowed me to get about 80% of the copy done from this boot camp because it's really this boot camp is the lead is the headline and
Hmm.
the subhead, which is basically means you selected your whole market, their customer awareness, their sophistication level, and then you got to write the lead and then everything else, the
Yep.
proof.
So Theo, is the way that you look at it, I'm already asking this question in a very clunky way. So Great Leads is about awareness, not sophistication, even though he does hint at sophistication at various points in that book.
Right.
So is a general form, is it a matter of selecting your lead type based on stage of awareness and then slapping on the appropriate mechanism or not based on
Yes.
their level of sophistication?
Yeah, that book used to confuse me so much, and then I started to get it after the first boot camp, and then after the second, I think you can. It's like Gene says, you copies just assembly, right? So for supplements, my market, those are solution aware people, and so there's literally a lead type specifically for solution aware. In the book, they match it, and then the sophistication, I think, is not separate, but not covered in that book either.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it depends on what supplement, but I feel like you'd have to think that in general terms, in that in that industry, that most people are going to be at a 4 or 5
They
stage
are.
stage of sophistication. You think so?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, except for the low agency, like low emotional state supplement buyers, which are what the big, like if you go on ClickBank or Buy Goods and you see those cheesy VSLs that are making millions of dollars, that's who they're targeting. So that's kind of a unaware audience or not necessarily unaware, but they're not like sophisticated supplement researchers. But those aren't the type of people that I'm currently marketing
Oh.
to. I'm marketing to people that are a little bit more sophisticated than that.
Is there a specific way that they have identified people who haven't been exposed to very many messages?
My experience is that I mean, so I sell like I have offers and affiliates sell them for me, right? So it's for me, it's an audience selection, like list selection, like Brian's always talking about, and like if I have a more cold traffic affiliate where they're marketing to kind of low emotional state people where they're like, why am I so tired? Like what's going on, and they're not really like big natural health people. It's like somebody pushing a diabetes offer, right? Like it's just, it's a very specific thing for a very specific person. So I have to change my marketing if it's if it's to that type of audience. Where right now the affiliates that are doing my offers they're like tribal niche affiliates where they have a relationship with their audience. They send out a newsletter once a week. They talk back and forth with them, and like the people that are following them are pretty into doing their own health research. So
Hey Theo, any of the affiliates into like a specific health ailment?
yeah, I mean, there's tons of those guys
Yeah,
around.
so
Like,
that's where you really need to customize. Like, when, people think, I don't know if, I'm not saying you, but I know when people get into affiliate marketing, and I guess you might know that I'm not a big affiliate marketer, although I think it's a legitimate way to sell goods and services. I'm not against it. It's just that I don't really use it. And I use it as a way to discount. I don't know if you know this, but like when someone inside Titan's Accelerator offers their services when they speak or when they want to post something, I say, "Do you have an affiliate commission?" They say yes. I say, "Well, let's get the 50% discount to the accelerators because I don't take the affiliate commission." And that's usually a really neat thing. And you
nice.
realize that's another benefit of being an accelerator member. Hint, hint. But going back to the idea of affiliates, you really need the affiliate partner. You need to be in sync with them. So many people, when they do an affiliate deal, and you know this because you do a lot of affiliates, but some people don't realize that every affiliate needs to be like, it's not like commoditized affiliates. And a lot of people treat it like that. And I
Yep.
never understood that. Like, I have an offer, here it is, give it to the affiliate and just sell it. And believe it or not, a lot of people do that.
Oh
And
yeah.
that just not only breaks my heart, because if you're going to do affiliates, like do it the right way. And the real affiliate marketers, the real ones, I'm sure you're one of them, you basically say, like, what's your offer? What's your audience? Let me customize this. And you give them not commoditized swipe copy, but you give them swipe copy that's specific for their audience. I know I'm preaching to the converted here, but I really wanted to get this out there because there are a lot of people on this call that might be new to affiliate marketing or think affiliate marketing is magic or affiliate marketing is free. Affiliate marketing is not free. You don't pay
No.
for the media, but you pay in blood and guts and everything else, and you're putting yourself in partnership with somebody who may be a villain, and that's another thing you need to worry about. So, I guess what I heard was that you're reliant a lot on affiliate marketing. So I wanted to get this out for everybody, but I think you already were there when you said, you know, you mentioned my name in vain when you talk about list segmentation and message to list, that was near and dear to my heart. So
Yeah, honestly, I think what the offer creation and the audience selection are, I mean, those are the two biggest things. Copy
absolutely,
is icing on the cake.
absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I think you're thinking about it the right way. I really do. But you can be it's like, if you can get unfair advantages everywhere just based on what you learned in the boot camp and what you're applying. I think that, the idea is to, get ahead of other commodity, and I'm saying you're a commoditized supplement, but you could be perceived that way. And by the key is not being, you don't have to be like super specialty. You just have to be perceived as super specialty. I hate to say that because, it sounds like you're beating the system, but there is a system to commoditization. And, you want to get past that. You want to be the one. And I think you can do that.
Definitely.
That's my lecture for today. I don't know if anybody got anything out of that, but I certainly did because I got to get it off my chest every 6 months on affiliate marketing.
Hey Brian, I made you host. We got some storms here in Nashville, so I don't know if my power will go out
Oh, wow. Yeah. How,
during
how,
this.
how you doing down there?
Oh, fine. It's just been
A
a
month of
month of
tornadoes, no
a
big
month
deal.
of storms and tornadoes, and this is just thunderstorms now, but sometimes it knocks the power out for a minute.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But that way, if I get kicked off, it won't end the call for everybody.
Well, I don't think I have any storms, but I'm a tech idiot, so who knows if I'll just cut off somehow, but there's always that option.
I think you got it.
You have a lot of confidence. You have more confidence in me than I have in myself, but thank you, Chris.
That's right, Rebecca. Typical spring in Nashville.
Yeah,
There,
exactly.
there are these local weather groups called Nashville Severe Weather, and they like blew up on Twitter several years ago, and people here, no, like nobody, well, nobody, that's an overstatement, but um, more people like just go on Twitter and their YouTube live streams, like, what are these guys saying? They're just weather enthusiasts, four of them,
Yeah, I
and
don't I don't live there anymore, but they were who we paid attention to more than
that's
I
right.
stopped listening to anything else and just paid attention to that page.
Yep, nobody puts on the news. They just like, what's Nashville Severe Weather say?
Mhm.
Cool. All righty. Last call today. Going to finish strong. So we're going to be diving into how Gene worked. We got a few other things to share with you on that. So we'll go ahead and hop in here. I've got a couple videos to share as well today.
I'm sad this is ending. I hope everybody else is.
Yeah, the last call is always a little bittersweet. Let's see. Let's go here. Okay, cool. All right, so welcome again, everybody. I'll give you a quick rundown of what we're going to be talking about today. So, Gene was somebody who said, and you'll hear him say it today, that he never suffered from writer's block, and even now with the amazing tools we have with AI, I think if it's not writer's block, we can certainly have the experience of like a creative block where it's not necessarily about what do I say, but like how do I say it? What is getting clear on your message that you're even trying to get AI to help you formulate your ideas and discover that. So, so we're talking about today, like what do we mean when we say we're in a creative block? I want to share something from the book that's like a passing line that really stuck out to me, and I take it as a warning from Gene around avoiding accidentally selling your competitors' products. And we'll hear from Gene. He'll share sort of his process for creating and working and how it is that he said he never suffered from writer's block. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about Gene's approach to masterminding. And this was a group that Brian was a part of. So Brian will probably have you talk a little bit about what that was like when we get to it. But I wanted to share this because just defining this term block, and I forget where I heard this, but I wrote it down. I thought it was a really great frame around, creative block, writer's block, whatever it is, just not being able to figure out what it is you're trying to say with your marketing. And the quote that I wrote down was that a block is an unanswered question. So, and I think it's relatively true, most of the time, maybe not 100% of the time, but basically, in my experience, like if I have some like a lack of clarity on a creative product or a project and trying to just figure out like what am I trying to communicate, or like what is the feeling I'm trying to create, the emotional state in somebody else to kind of wake up that desire that's already inside of them. It's really trying to figure out, what is the answer that I'm looking for in terms of the questions that they're asking themselves, the market that is, and then getting clear on what kind of what the question is that I'm actually asking as well. And I think that the way that we start to move past that, in the way that we actually get stuck, is kind of feeling like we've got to muscle through that block. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, like when I'm trying to muscle through something, I can fall into that trap of feeling like, well, I'm trying to create the desire in the market, and I kind of lose sight of what my real job is as a marketer, and I end up getting, you kind of get stuck in your head and self-conscious. But what I've appreciated about and learned from Gene, in both reading Breakthrough Advertising and teaching these boot camps, is I really appreciate how Gene always brings us back to the market, and to understand, if there's a block that we're facing, sometimes most of the time the simplest solution to that is to just reconnect back with your market. Like, what questions are they asking? Connect back to that voice of customer research that we talked about, so you can really kind of remember the problems and practice that method acting, that empathy, going back to the very first call of, like, what does it feel like to be in the position of the person that you're trying to help with your offer. And so a few things that have worked for me when
Chris, go back a slide. So
Yeah.
the last comment, remember, copy is assembled, not written. I remember on the first call,
uh-huh
I think I teased that there was a story that I just wanted to tell about that because I had to leave the call early. So let me
okay,
just tell it quickly now. It won't take long.
sure.
And those of you who've heard it before, it's worth hearing again. When Gene wrote copy for Boardroom, um, and usually for a book, but he also wrote for our newsletters. But I just remember the first time he mentioned this is I handed him a health book. It was a 400-page compendium of health information, from doctors, stuff that came out of our health newsletters, out of our consumer newsletters, and it was, really good health information. And he always asked me the same question when I handed him a book and said, Gene, do a package for me. He said, "What's not in the book?" Was always the question. What's not in the book? And that to me goes hand in hand with copy being assembled and not written. Gene, there was enough in the book where Gene could write a successful promotion. There was enough, like, information about all the health ailments and diabetes and, liver disease and heart blood cholesterol and blood pressure medications. He could write good fascinations and good bullet points for all of it. But he also knew that pushing the envelope, as it were, literally and figuratively, um, to our editors, to the people doing the research at Boardroom, to, like, go for more. And that's Gene. I mean, Gene was always about more. He was always about, whatever you have, you can do better. I mean, I think I mentioned Marty Edelston had stationery at the bottom. It said good, better, best, never let it rest until the good is better and the better best. I lived into that. I mean, I was like bombarded with Marty on the one hand, Gene on the other, telling me it's not good enough, basically. And from going back to my father, who, when I got a 98 on a test, he said, "Where's the other 2 points?" So my whole life has been about, being a flawed human being because I got a 98 on a test. So that could be painful, but I look at it as something that I'm lucky to have mentors like this to always make me think more after I think I've got it made, after I think I'm there, after I think I'm done. That doesn't mean that, I mentioned this before in a previous call, that you don't want to have, paralysis by analysis and never put anything on paper and never test and never push the send button because it's not perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. We know all that. But Gene wanted us to dig. And what happened was it's happened time and again. I think I mentioned it on the Paris Lampropolis video. If it wasn't there, it's on that video somewhere. But it's all about, I think I did mention it. The idea of what's on the cutting room floor. Like Paris did the same thing to me. He'd say, Brian, the stuff in the newsletter is good, but I think we can get much better cutting edge information. Go back to your editors. He went back to the editors. He said, can I talk to your editors about getting better health information so I could write better copy? I mean, that's a copywriter. That's what makes you, that's one of the many things that makes you an A-list copywriter, because you have insatiable curiosity. You're insatiable in your quest for the best copy, the best content, the best thing to write about. I mean, Paris, I think I mentioned this on the video with Paris. He said, I asked him, can you do a package for this natural health newsletter? And he said, no, it sucks. That was basically because it was too banal. It was too, it was too commonplace. It was just not good enough. And he wasn't going to risk his asset, meaning his time and his effort, on something that he couldn't write a winner for and collect royalties. Everything was an opportunity cost. And that's the part of it too. Like the copywriter wants to write the best copy to make the most money. Now, Gene was writing for names. But he wanted thing to work, he had this insatiability to make sure that everything he wrote was successful. And to be successful, the client needs to partner with you on that. So, long way of saying, remember, copy is assembled, not written, there's a lot beneath the surface there. And again, it goes back to what the slide says about the market. What is the market telling you? What are your customers telling you? And we've been talking ad nauseum about researching your audience and surveying your audience and making sure you know that audience left and right until you put a word of copy on paper. And that doesn't go away because Gene was a master copywriter who didn't need more, but he always wanted more. And I think that, that tells you why the guy was who he was. And so, obviously, I having had direct experience with him, I knew how his mind worked. And I wish my mind worked that way. I really did. I try to get it to work a little bit that way. Whatever I've gotten from him and Marty, I take as a blessing. But man, we can all do a little bit more of that in our lives, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've heard you tell that story before. It's always a really good reminder that there's always more that you can uncover, and especially if you test what you think is your best idea and it doesn't pull the response you're hoping for. Like, it's a sort of a call to action to see if you can go back and find what you missed before you either move on to the next thing you're going to sell or
and also relating to what Theo mentioned, about, again, different copy platforms, different, headlines, different leads to different segments of your audience. It's all wrapped up in assembling your copy. You're not just writing one size fits all copy to an audience. You got to know that audience so well and then decide what messages are going to resonate with them after you then subsegment into, who they are. And you can find that out because they'll tell you, especially if you have a relationship with them. I mean, that's why I always say, your best customers are your best. That's your research division of your company. It's regression modeling. I want to, these people bought this. I want to find more people that will behave like them. It sounds simple, of course, simpler than it is, but that's what direct response marketing is, basically. Finding more people to buy from you who bought from you already, both repeat customers and new customers that look like the customers that have bought from you. I mean, it almost is as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to share just some ideas, things that work for me, some ideas from Titans Accelerator. But if you find yourself in this in this creative block or just kind of unsure or don't you lack some clarity. And I think this first one, maybe John Carlton was the first person that I heard say this at a Titans Mastermind meeting, but the idea of, obviously if you're writing copy, but writing without editing. It's a really great exercise to just because the product or offer you're wanting to make, and who you're talking to, but you can't like figure out the right combination of words, or the stuff you're getting from AI just isn't working. Sometimes if you just start writing the thing, and you don't have the cool flowery language, it's as simple as like, hey, come buy my thing, it's really great. And then you type that down, and then the next question that comes up is like, well, why is it great? So you just start typing without really thinking. It's not something that you would necessarily put out to the market, and maybe you stumble on something. But I think writing without editing is a really great exercise to get to a point of clarity. And then, like we just mentioned, reconnecting with your research, that voice of the customer doc, that from the first call, using deep research, whether that's Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever you're using. But that thing is pulling from Reddit forums and YouTube comments and Amazon, and just reconnecting with what people are actually saying in your niche is a great way to kind of get a spark of creativity or a new idea for an angle. And one of the things I think we mentioned it in passing in some of these calls, but this idea of marketing by walking around, and I know Gene and Marty Edelson did this too, where they would get a copy of the National Enquirer, kind of these tabloid magazines, and it wasn't to read the stories. It was like these are companies that are they've got a business model. They're in the grocery stores, and people buy those things, and it's a way to kind of see, once you have the lens that we've been talking about being able to identify the desire in the market, you can spot, like you can connect stories from the National Enquirer or the Globe, or whatever those tabloids are, to desires in the market, and it's not necessarily like an apples to apples, where it's like I'm seeing a desire for a supplement that I'm selling, but it's even bigger than that, of like a desire to read something, like read this outlandish story and be entertained. And that's a huge part of marketing too, is being entertaining, capturing their attention. So you can learn a lot about just how these stories capture attention, and get ideas for sort of the pace and the cadence of the writing, that you can then take and kind of retrofit that onto the promotions that you're working on.
Two quick quotes to connect number 1 and number 3 here. I just
Yeah.
pulled them up from my blog posts, but on number I missed that. Okay, on number 3 about that's copywriting by walking around. This is from Gene Schwartz. You cannot lose touch with the people of this country, no matter how successful or potent you are. If you don't spend at least 2 hours a week finding out where your market is today, you're finished. I think that's pretty radical. And then the other one is hold on, I got that one also, from Gary Halbert, and he said, I don't exactly know what I'm going to write about today. So what I'm going to do is just keep putting words down on paper until I start to get some direction. And you'll see in the video with Gene that there's a lot of that in there. In terms of the kind of thing that the idea will come to you as you keep writing. And some people don't believe in the process doing that, and you get frustrated. And so Gene will talk about his procedure using the Pomodoro method, but also just how he created copy and why he never got blocked. And so, but I think they didn't just say it; they proved it because Gene had volumes of copy, as did Gary Albert, and you know, and as Chris said, he's going to show you how Gene did this in a second.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, and this is where community, whether you're in Titans Accelerator or any other type of group, paid or free, Facebook groups or anything like that, getting help from other marketers, even maybe even especially marketers who aren't in your niche, to learn and understand kind of what's working for them. Maybe there are lessons that you can pull from that are ideas that have worked in other niches or industries that you haven't thought of. And so I think having the ability to connect with other professionals who are doing sort of the same thing that you're doing in different niches, super, super helpful. And so I want to share this video. So you guys, if you were here on the first call, I mentioned that, I'm, my background in songwriting, that's what brought me to Nashville. And I always saw this massive similarity between the process of writing songs and the process of writing copy for sales letter, email, or whatever. And I came across this video. It's just 2 minutes. And this is John Mayer, in a radio interview with this guy, just talking about his process for writing songs, and he just improvises. And so I don't want to give too much away. I'll let you watch it, but see if you can, as he describes, and actually you hear what this process is like, this improvisation of trying to just find an idea. See if you can kind of notice the similarities of, as a creative, that this also sort of applies to creating marketing copy too. And I think I have to come out of this and play it right here. All right.
It's right now, you and I, and you would reach for a guitar as
Yes.
you do right now, and you would sit there and
Well, I'll pick up the guitar.
you pick up the guitar,
Yeah.
and your immediate feeling would be to do what?
Well, I don't always do it because it requires a stupid bravery all the time. But you could sit here all day. You can go, okay, maybe that's something. But if you don't go, sunlight's beating on the corners of the walls, and I'm a Mr. Know-It-All. Heaven calls, get yourself right now. If you're not
So
if you're not
crazy how
Ouija
you can
boarding
turn that on, bro.
immediately,
So crazy.
you're wasting time.
You're such a weirdo, man, because on the one hand, you have this really very aware part of who you are in terms of being able to, analyze and move things through and construct and process, which is what all human beings do, but you seem super hyper aware of it.
Yes.
And yet in process like that, you're like a different human being.
Yes, you just go into, when I work it out, get on, and just stare at the corner of the wall. Stare at the corner of the wall, try to get it going on, but I can't call out. You just keep going till you get something. And maybe I'm a little bit shy, maybe someday I'll tell you why. Because I don't know. I mean, it's all stuff, but you gotta keep forcing it. Go get it from the universe. You can't rehearse. You're on stage now, and everybody's listening to thoughts coming out of my mind. But I won't be scared, 'cause I do it for a living. It's not a taking, it's a giving. Tell me why. Do you still wanna hear me sing? Doesn't matter. And if you can get fearless.
Fearless.
It's hard to do.
Yet you said a while back.
So I wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was a really good example. I love the.
Hi, I'm Andy Levian, General Counsel at the DNC. We just sued
There you go. when he said, he talked about it as like Ouija boarding. And I thought that was such a really cool way of describing the creative process. And it's not just, let me get out of here. So I can't do two things at once. Here we go. Ouija boarding, where you're just kind of like in this groove, in this creative groove. And, you know, he in that song that he was just making up, he's like staring at the corner of the wall, and you just hope that you're like going to stumble on something. Yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought it was a really cool example. So, oh no, I don't want it to play. Let's go to the next one. So this is, I feel like it was on page 66. I meant to look that up before, but there's just a passing line that Gene talks about a warning of the danger of over relying on swipe files, and he says that what can end up happening is and this kind of goes to what the story that Brian shared during the Paris presentation of how Bill Bonner's team wanted to just completely copy what had worked for Boardroom. And Gene calls these echo ads, and it's where you're taking a competitor's successful promotion that's working, and you're just doing kind of a word substitute technique where you're taking words from there, you're pulling out a few words, changing them a little bit, and then substituting your own words, substituting your own products and offers. And what ends up happening is that that can actually end up reminding your market of your competitor, because they're spending money, they're getting their ads out into the marketplace, and they'll see your ad and it looks just like the other ad. I think you can kind of see this sort of in like the ClickFunnels world today, where Russell he has sort of a style and sort of a way of marketing to sort of the business opportunity internet marketing space. And when you see people copy that, you probably had that experience of like it instantly reminds you of, this is a ClickFunnels style offer, and now you're thinking about ClickFunnels or something else that Russell was selling. But there are a ton of examples like this where it comes from kind of trying to take the easy road, in my opinion. And so this is just a word of caution that when you're using swipe files, you definitely want to make them your own. You want to take the inspiration. And actually Gene talks about this in a second, in this video, where he says, I don't want people to see the copy. I want them to see through the copy. And I love this quote from Brian, where he says, stealing is a felony, but stealing smart is an art. And so now I want to pull up this, just a section. It's like a 10-minute section of Gene, where he's talking about the way he works and his process there. But then this little 10-minute section is just really filled with a lot of little gems. And I've got this on a separate file here. And I've got the audio cranked on my end. This is a little low, so if you can't hear it, you'll need to turn it up on your computer. But this is as loud as I can make it. So we're going to watch this, and then we'll come back.
Because I'm better prepared than anyone else. Okay. Now, how do I work? What is the secret? I've never had a writer's block. I've done 30 ads for Pat. I've done dozens of ads for Boardroom, dozens of ads for myself, many ads for Phillips, Dick Benson, etc. I've written 9 books. I've written many articles. I turn out a ton of material continuously. I never have a block. I always love to write. I never stare at the page for more than a few minutes. What do? Okay. It is tough, enormously difficult for you to sit down in front of a blank page or a blank screen and say, okay, I'm going to create. Especially when you are working against the world's best, which is where you want to be, against the world's best. Therefore, you can't think about beating them. You can't think about how much pressure there is. You can't think about how much money is involved. You can't think about anything except what you're going to write on the page, what you're going to take, of course, from the party. Now, how can you free yourself of all this anxiety, all this blockage, all this self-doubt? It's very simple, of course. What you do is use an old Zen trick. Zen masters are enormously proficient, and they have been for 2,000 years. And they have a very simple system which I use continually. I use every day. You walk into the same place that you always write at. Now, there's got to be. Now, when I say write, I mean work at. If you're do editorial, if you're an accountant, executive, etc., you're always at the same place, at home or at the office. I happen to work at home continually. I don't write at the office. I don't write any place else in the world except one desk where I've written for the past 28 years. Okay. That desk is a nice, big, comfortable desk with an incredibly sloppy amount of paper all over it. I create chaos. I'm a great chaos creator. I like it because it gives these wonderful little accents. Okay. You come in, you've got a set time, which you may or may not keep. I never keep it. It's somewhere around 9:30. It's usually around 10 o'clock, but I know I'm going to be there every morning. You come in, and you do the same thing all the time. Many people sharpen pencils. I don't have pencils, so I don't sharpen them, but I certainly have my little pen, which I live on. And so I take that out. I take 3 of them out. 1, 2, 3. There. I brought in a cup of coffee. I have 1 cup of coffee in the morning. That's my coffee intake for the day. I take the coffee. I place it down. I have a pitcher of cream. Very important that I have the pitcher of cream by the coffee. I take it and pour it in the coffee. I take the spoon. I rotate. I take the coffee. What is it? I take my computer and I ask it to bring up the new Rodale ad I'm working on. Wonderful, it does that. There's 50 pages staring at me, page 1. Okay. I take this device. This is the Liberator. This is the thing that frees you from all the anxiety and all the lack of self-confidence in the world. It is a timer. It is a punch-in timer. And what I do with it is I do this. I take boom, 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 and boom, and I've got 33.33 minutes. I then punch on, and it starts ticking down. Now, I put it down, and I am set. I have no goal for the next 33.33 minutes, except to work on the copy. Okay. Now, I don't have to work on the copy. There's absolutely no necessity for me to work on the copy. I can sit there. I can stare at it. I can drink the coffee. I can stare some more, drink some more coffee. I can do anything in the world except not get up from the desk, not do any other task, not even write my own name. I just sit there. All right. Sooner or later I get bored. It takes me, my boredom time is about 1 or 2 minutes. Then I begin looking at the copy. As I look at the copy, I begin paging up and down on the computer. And as I do that, something reaches out from that computer and grabs me and says, hey, aren't I beautiful? Hey, aren't I powerful? Hey, start with me. And okay, I say, okay, this is great, this is good, but it's not quite phrased. Wouldn't it be better if we just took these 2 words out and condensed it a little? So I do that. And then I go a little more, and I see another one, and I do that. And never on. I have no goal that has anything to do except with the coffee and the thing that's staring me in the face. So I'm not worried about the test, or the money, or the overhead, or the rent, or the new car, or the new painting. That's all gone. I'm just working on that. Now, what I do is I work for 33.33 minutes. At the end of 33.33 minutes, this little thing rings. It's very important that it rings. You've got to get a timer that rings. because you should be so absorbed that you shouldn't notice the time passing. Now, we've got a timer in this room right here, besides this one, which is that television camera which is staring at me. That television camera has a 30-minute cycle, I believe. And what's going to happen at the end of 30 minutes is he's going to wave. How many minutes have gone? There are 4 minutes left. Okay. 4 minutes from now, this man is going to wave with me. And we will have spent 30 minutes together. Okay. When he waves at me, I'm going to stop. I'm finished. I am going to interrupt myself and you, and we're all going to sit around and do anything we want, go to the bathroom, talk, scratch our heads, do anything we want for 5 minutes. But we're not going to do any more talking, we're not going to do any more listening. Why? Because when you're working, you're not creating. The whole secret is to know when you're working and leave work and go on creation. What do I mean by that? Number one, copy is not written. If anyone tells you you write copy, sneer at them. Copy is not written, copy is assembled. You do not write copy, you assemble it. You are working with a series of building blocks, and you are putting the building blocks together, and then you are putting them in certain structures. You're building a little city of desire for your person to come and live in. You are not writing. You are assembling. You are assembling claims, you are assembling images, and you are assembling desires that people will pay $33 to share with you on a 21-day or 20, I don't know what it is, 21-day guarantee. So forget about writing. Anybody in this room who writes copy, anyone in this room who works with copy, must realize that the person they are working with or the thing they are producing is not writing. Get that out of your head because you won't produce good copy. The one thing I hate most in the world and shows me absolute disaster is when somebody comes up to me and says, wow, that headline is so beautiful. Where did you get those words? They're gorgeous. I said, oh God, he's seeing the words. He's not seeing through the words, he's seeing the words themselves. No good. If you want to write poetry, if you want to write prose, if you want to write novels, and if you want to write literature, go outside of advertising. Words in advertising are like the windows in a store. You must be able to look right through them and see the product. If you see the window, it's dirty. And you're going to see yourself, or you're going to see the smear. You're not going to see the product, and you're going to lose. Copy should never call attention to itself. You should never know that you are reading sentences, and the words should never pronounce themselves. What you want people to see is the visual, visceral image of what the words are conveying. That is how it works. You've got to break that fascination with words. Of course you've got to have the right words. Of course you've got to have the punch headline. But when the right words come, the people don't see them, they feel them. Here. Sneaky little arthritis tricks. 4 words. None of them is an exceptional word. They're all pretty standard, mundane words. It is their combination that makes their power. One of the words is a word that should not be used in advertising, sneaky. Because, we don't like to sneak around. People sneak around. They're not very appealing. You don't want to be identified with those. But when a person who has arthritis and has the pain of arthritis and the humiliation and dependency of arthritis sees sneaky little arthritis tricks, and if they have gone to doctors and spent hundreds of hours trying to follow doctors and not been able to be helped by doctors, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Chris, your audio is off. Chris, you're muted.
Got it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
let me just make a couple of quick comments.
Sure.
One thing you might have noticed is Gene's right arm was always down at his side. I think I mentioned this, but I want you to be aware, and it just speaks to the I don't know, the amazingness of Gene Schwartz. He had a major stroke at some point. I don't know when. Probably 5 to 10 years before this video. Was paralyzed on his right side. He could lift his arm, but it was basically not really usable. And he said he's working on a computer. It was a word processor. But the reason why there's a typewriter on the cover of Breakthrough Advertising is that Gene learned to hunt and peck type with his left hand with one finger. And he produced an amazing amount of copy doing that afterwards, after his stroke. Just speaks to his, I don't know, his persistence, his just tenacity as a human being. Doesn't come across there maybe in the video. It comes across to me because I knew him very well. But, when I see, his right arm not being usable, and this guy is writing the amount of copy that he's writing using a typewriter or a word processor, it's pretty amazing. The other thing he talked about, I don't know what word he used, titillating or whatever. Marty had an expression like, he always said, you need your, when a copywriter sent Marty copy, and Marty's classic line was that it doesn't make me vibrate. And, I don't know what vibration has a lot of different meanings, but I think what Gene was saying there is like, it's got to be something that, and he talked about it while he was writing too. Gene is looking at, like, remember he said he scrolls and then he gets to a piece of copy in the middle and he says, oh, maybe I can go with that. And I think I mentioned the creative meetings at Boardroom, which were inspired by Gene with that comment, because what we would do is we would go through a Magalog, a 24-page Magalog or a 12-page sales letter in the creative meeting, and someone invariably would go find something on page 6 or page 12 and say, what if we brought this to the top and started with that as our lead? You have to keep doing that, because if you wrote copy and every word that you wrote was meaningful, and then the next words you wrote were meaningful to the words before, then it's all good copy. It's all, you wrote it and you think it's valuable enough to put in a sales letter or a promotion. Why not look at it as a lead? Why not look at it as your focus? It may not be as good. Maybe you chose the best thing for your headline initially. It's possible, but you have to keep working with what you have. And then finally, I just thought it was ironic that he used the example of the sneaky tricks. How many times online have we seen, I'm sure people on this call have used it, the one sneaky trick, the one, and also what they don't want you to know and what they won't tell you was a big one too. That wasn't Gene. That was more Ralph Ginsberg and Mel Martin, even before Gene. But still, that's where Gene, while he didn't like to take copy word for word and then repeat it and put it, and just make it his own, man, he is being ripped off today every single day. And that just makes me smile, And the thing is, a lot of online marketers think that, oh, I'll just try this because it worked then, or it worked at some point. After a while, it's just noise. So you have to be careful with that. And that's why Gene didn't like, swipe files necessarily. But getting a copy platform, the idea of sneaky tricks can be reworded and repositioned in so many different ways. Just like the 12 Smiling Swindlers that I talked to you about can be reworked and remade into so many different things just using the Bloodhound approach. like the protector approach. I'm going to protect you from all of these villains and all of these swindlers. That's not ripping off copy. That's stealing smart. So, that's why the differentiator of stealing versus stealing smart is not just words. I mean, I like the words because I made them up. But it really is, and so you can steal smart from yourself, which is what Gene was talking about. Scroll down. Hey, I wrote that 3 hours ago. I thought it was a throwaway line, but maybe it's not. You always have to rethink and he said it better than I did, but I just wanted to emphasize those things. There are so many other things. That was, and
Yeah,
I think this video is like over an hour long, right?
it is. Yeah.
And
It's over
everybody
an
gets
hour.
it. Everybody gets the entire video. I guess when
Yeah.
they join Accelerator, but I don't know if we're giving it to them as for everybody
hmm
anyway.
Yeah. Well, along with the Bob Bly interview of
Oh,
where he
of Gene,
interviewed
yeah, yeah,
you and Marty in Paris and
and
some
Michael
others,
Fishman,
people, like what it
yeah,
was like working with Gene.
yeah.
Um, but just some things that I pulled out from this video that kind of stuck out to me. He said he used the same space for work every day. He said he created chaos because it allowed for these wonderful accidents. Setting the timer for the 33.33 minutes, working in chunks, and then taking the 5 minute break, and then reading through the copy until an idea jumped out at him, and then he started exploring that idea, and then yeah, took the 5 minute break, reset the timer. A few other just quotes
Yeah,
from
by the way,
this.
that inspired this. This is an egg timer that, if you can see it, um, and it says the Titans Accelerator Pomodoro egg timer, and this is one of the gifts for the Titans icons, who are the 6 year members, um, um, and we have quite a few of them, and I thought that was a good tribute to Gene to be able to create a Pomodoro egg timer. But because by 6 years in the Titans Accelerator, if you have not adopted the Pomodoro method, you haven't been paying attention. So,
Yeah, so a few quotes from that video. It says, "When you're working, you're not creating. Obviously, copy is not written; it's assembled." He said, "You're assembling claims, you're assembling desires," and he says, "You're working to build a series of building blocks. You're putting them into a certain structure." And then this phrase was great. He said, "You're building little cities of desire for your prospect to come and live in." So you can tell just in the way he talks about his process, how descriptive and the images that those words bring to mind, and that really kind of gets into his other book that we sell called The Brilliance Breakthrough, and that's all about writing in word pictures, and so that's much more like a workbook that you go through. It's a different approach than breakthrough advertising that's much more technical. But if you don't have the Brilliance Breakthrough, um, then it's definitely something that we would encourage you to take a look at. And if you're in Titans Accelerator, you get 50% off of that as well. The other thing that I wanted to share, and Brian, this is where I'm going to set it up for you, but just some of the ways that Gene connected and worked with other marketers. So he both attended and he organized. Today we'd call them masterminds. I don't think Gene called them masterminds. That wasn't necessarily, it didn't, that term didn't have the cachet. He called them salons or
although Napoleon Hill invented the concept, I think in the
yeah,
1930s or something. I don't know. It was way back. But
correct.
yeah, masterminds weren't a big thing in those days.
Yeah, but I just think it's cool, like that even Gene, with the level of success that he had, he was still always trying to bring people that he worked with together to kind of share ideas and best practices, and usually these would center around a specific niche, and one of those groups was called the Triumvirate of Health Marketers, and this is a group where Gene met with kind of the three authorities in the health space, where they were openly sharing their different marketing strategies, what was working for them, what wasn't. And these were even competitors of each other, you know, sort of in the traditional sense of the word. But the three people was Boardroom. So we had Brian and Marty there. You had Rodale Press, and then you had, you know, Gene, obviously, because as we mentioned before, Gene had Instant Improvement Books, which was his own publishing company. And so, Brian, I thought it'd be interesting just to kind of share, like, what were these meetings like when you guys would get together?
They were, I mean, at the time, I didn't realize what I was sitting in, you know, because I was sitting in it. You know, it's like you're in the middle of it and you don't realize that, you know, history is being made here, you know, kind of thing. But it was amazing. A couple of just impressions. First of all, we always had them at Marty's apartment. Marty's apartment was on 72nd? Yeah. 72nd Street. No. Central. Oh shit, where was it? It was right next to the Dakota, which is the building that John Lennon was assassinated in or outside of. And Marty had an apartment at the Mayfair, which was right next door, overlooking Central Park. And we'd sit in Marty's living room in this apartment, looking over Central Park. It was me, Marty, Pat Kapora, who ran the Rodale Health Division. Pat was a miracle guy. I mean, he took Rodale Press from 0 to 300 million in health books in a span of, I don't know, less than 10 years, but a lot less than maybe 8 years, 7 years. And then there was Gene with his little instant improvement books, these little, you know, tiny books. And it was just, it was interesting because Gene, on the one hand, didn't belong, and yet Gene belonged more than anybody. So there's a lot of lessons here. You know, it's the idea of everybody knows everything about this much. Those of you who can't see me, my thumb and my index finger are 3 inches apart. So Gene knew more about copy and markets and the concept of concepts that are embedded in breakthrough advertising. I was the list guy. I mean, I knew more about lists than anybody in the room. Pat Kapora knew more about the science of direct mail at the time and direct marketing, because Pat came out of the Rodale accounting department. And so, but he was a marketer, and it was amazing that he had this amazing brain. It was like, you know, right lobe, you know, creative and numbers and so it was. And then Marty just had incredible instinct and marketing instinct and copy instinct. So everybody brought their wares to the meeting. Basically, each brought our assets to the meeting, and that's what a mastermind's about, right? It's like everybody brings what they got, they contribute. It's what our masterminds are about. They bring what they have to share, what their assets are, and then it's 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals 37. You know, because everybody is expanding on everybody else's thinking, and you don't go into the room thinking you're the smartest person in the room, because then you're in the wrong room. Sometimes Gene had a big ego, so sometimes Gene would say something and you'd say, you know, he's right, but, you know, he should be more open-minded. Marty often would, you know, play the game of being the smartest guy in the room, but then he would back off completely when someone else would make a point that contradicted him, that the light bulb went on and he said, man, that was brilliant. So it was basically masterminding at a really amazing level. So it was, also there was, you know, the idea of competition being coexistence is such an important thing. Remember the story about Agora, about how we shared each other's lists and everything, and yet we coexisted and we shared everything with each other. You know, I always tell the story of Reader's Digest, which was, you know, the pinnacle of direct marketing in the 1960s and 70s, and they didn't share with anybody. They thought they were the be all end all of database marketing, of creative, of everything. And, they went out of business way before Boardroom and Rodale and Gene Schwartz went out of business because he died. But, you know, it just I just believe in, there are some things in your business that are proprietary, but I think sharing willingly and generously will always get you more out of business. And that's why you can't really see. You can only see his feet behind me. But Mariano Rivera, um, who was the pitcher for the Yankees, best one of the best pitchers of all time. Why he's on my wall? Because he epitomizes competition as coexistence. And the short version of that is that Mariano Rivera had one pitch, and no one could hit it, and it was it was a cut fastball that no one could hit, and yet anybody who wanted to learn the pitch from him, he would teach it to him. Why? Because if he taught it to his competitors, and competitors in quotation, and they were really competitors, right? These are pitchers on other teams that could beat his team. But he felt that if he taught it to them, that would challenge the hitters on his team. Plus, I think down deep, he was a very humble man. He knew that he was the best at it. No one would ever be better than him. And if someone rivaled him, that would be a reason to get better at it. So what an attitude, right? Like he would share this one pitch that was unhittable with his competitors for the good of them and for him and his team. That says it in a nutshell, I guess, of competition versus coexistence. That's just some of the highlights of this little mini mastermind, and I think it paved the way for me how to think about my marketing life for the next 30 years or 40 years, because I've been in the business for almost 44 years now, and it paved the way. This was early in my career. This is in the early 1980s, mid 1980s, late 1980s too. And it paved the way for how I think about competition versus coexistence, how I think about masterminds, how I think about um, people bringing their wares and their unique talents to a meeting and being 1+1 = 3 every time. So, it was more than just a meeting. I can't emphasize enough how much it shaped my career. And I think it shaped the careers of the people that I've touched over 44 years, because I've shared this often. Those of you who've heard it before, I'm sure you're bored hearing about it. But it was paramount in not just my career, but the careers of everybody that I've worked with over 44 years. So, yeah, I'm really proud of those meetings and being part of them. And man, I just stepped in shit, man. I was a pig in shit there. I mean, I was the youngest in the room. I was the least experienced in the room. I mean, I was a little pisher basically compared to Pat Kapora, Marty Edelston, and Gene Schwartz. But man, what a amazing windfall that was for me. So I don't take it lightly that I was sitting in that room.
Yeah, and I mean the point in sharing this particular story with you guys is because I mean we've all kind of had a little microcosm of being in a sort of this mini mastermind together. I mean you can think of the boot camp as like a mini 2 week mastermind, and so you guys have gotten to experience like what that's like to be in a community. And for those of you who are able to make it on the Titans Accelerator call, it's one of the, like if you're not used to being in masterminds or kind of being in that world, it's something you don't know until you actually experience it. And I think it's just really cool that even before they were a big thing, kind of like they are today, that Gene was saw the value in bringing people together that they could all share and learn from. And I think there's a lesson there for all of us too, as we're leaving the boot camp. Is we've been in this really amazing environment together the last 2 weeks, and now it's ending. So and obviously we want you guys to join us in Titans Accelerator. But even if you don't, if that's not something that makes sense for you, it doesn't mean that that we don't also encourage you to just kind of be intentional about the environment that you're creating for yourself and your business, so that you can get ideas and feedback, especially feedback from other people who you can trust. And so, if that's something that you're interested in, you're thinking about, how do I move forward in a marketing mastermind? Just some tips to share with you around that is, if you can pay to join. I mean, it doesn't have to be tens of thousands of dollars, but especially if it's a group where there's a leader at the top, paying to be a part of it comes with a commitment from that leader or the leaders to really deliver for you. It's not saying that there aren't good free groups out there where you can't learn a lot. And
I
Brian,
think also you should, think about creating your own accountability group.
Yep.
Like find 3 other, that's what the pods are about inside Titans Accelerator. But you have to pay to be in Titans Accelerator, but the pods are included if you want to join a pod. But think about just finding 3 people in your life or 4 people in your life to get together, but you have to be committed to it. And if you're not paying, people, it's like, Joe Polish says, when you pay attention. Some people can pay attention without paying, and that's true. And I can. I have some free masterminds that I'm in or free accountability groups that I work in, and I can be committed to it. But, you're going to be committed to it if you got money on the line too. More committed maybe. But some people the money doesn't matter. Having a group like your own mini mastermind, I encourage that for everybody. You don't want to go it alone. I mean, why go it alone? You got to test your ideas with other people. I mean, even the best of the best do it, as I just proved with Boardroom Rodale and Gene. But, think about, Paris Lampropoulos, who you saw in that video. He runs his copy by his buddies. Like him and David Deutsch, they have interactive, hey, David, how do you like this headline? And so they do their own little masterminding. And those of you, there are people on this call even that are in Paris, a copy cub for Paris. He's got these copy cubs that he runs his ideas by, and the copy cubs run them by him. That's another version of a mastermind. So there's masterminding comes in a lot of flavors, but you really, to not have anybody that you can go to not have a de facto board of advisors or I call it a marketing insurance plan, which we have in our sales page for Titans Accelerator. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why do you want to be alone? I've never been alone. I mean, I like spending time by myself, so don't get me wrong. I like the peacefulness of being alone once in a while, but having people you can go to bounce ideas off of in an environment of giving and generosity doesn't get better than that. And especially in marketing with everything changing so quickly. I mean, that everybody who was on the call last Thursday with Luke and Mario, hopefully you got a sense of the way this business is moving. It is moving so freaking fast. And I just so pay to join if you can. Even if you have no money, figure out a way to find a board of advisors, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it is more of like a traditional mastermind where there's a leader and they're pouring into you, I think it's really important if you're going to be taking advice from somebody, like putting them in a place of authority in your life, is that they have done, they've achieved the thing or a portion of the thing that you want to do. That's one of the values I think of having mentors or being part of a paid mastermind group where you're learning from not just the leader, but also that leader is going to attract other leaders and other people with authority in their own domains. And so you kind of see that in this group and in Titans Accelerator, where we've got so many experts, and when we do the hot seats, it's just like a fire hose of people speaking from their own places of authority and their own places of expertise. And so obviously this is all leading to a place too where you want to see member success stories. Again, this is more like a traditional mastermind. This isn't like a group of guys or girls that you're getting together with coffee, although that's a fantastic place to start as well. If that's what you're able to do. But, having success stories from members that they've been able to help, and, adding that proof element, I guess, of, that these folks can deliver for you. And so obviously, we want you guys to, continue on with us after this last call today. That's why we have, made this special offer for you guys, to continue for the next 12 months inside of Titans Accelerator. And for those of you who weren't here on our last call on, Wednesday, the office hours call, we do talk about Titans Accelerator as your marketing and insurance plan, and having a de facto board of advisors that you can always go and bounce ideas off of. And sort of the way that we work is we have 2 to 3 live group calls every month. On those calls, sometimes we'll have hot seat opportunities, like we did during the office hours. Every call is recorded. It's available in a membership portal. If you miss a call, we've got this private, basically like a private podcast called TXL in your pocket that you can subscribe to on your mobile device, so you can catch up on the calls in the gym or while you're driving. And then, Brian ran Titans Mastermind, $25,000 a year group where we've got this huge collection of these various speakers and trainers coming in and speaking on their area of expertise. So, Jeff Walker, we've had Dan Kennedy a few times, even, the late Clayton Makepeace came to some of the early events and spoke, which was amazing. It's really great to sort of have that. That is like a historical piece, because Clayton was a genius copywriter and marketer. We also every month share swipe files with you, and these are swipe files that you can trust, that were successful, so that you can pull the inspiration that you need from them. And then we package all that up every month. The call recordings, the swipes, the Titans Vault presentations, and we put it in a package. And then Brian writes a letter where he talks about, this is what's in this month's TXL package, and here's why we included it. So he shares a little bit of a background on it, and so you get something physical in the mail from us every single month, which we felt was important, especially given Brian's background in direct mail. And then just sort of standard benefits of being a part of Titans Accelerator. Any of the boot camps that we run, like the one you're in now, or the Over Deliver boot camp, or Profit Partner Consulting, where we talk about how to structure and negotiate profit sharing deals with your clients. Those are all free to you. We mentioned the accountability pods. These are 5 to 7 TXL members where you're getting some accountability on whatever the goals are that you have for yourself and your business, and just having sort of that weekly touch point with a structure. There's a structure that we follow, and some groups kind of, it's organic. They create their own based on what works for them, and that's great, because every accountability pod is a little unique to the people in there. So we give you a general structure, but then obviously if it needs to change and grow, that's fine too. And then we've mentioned before the 50% discount that you get on all physical products. And then for specific, so that's just all stuff that comes standard with Titans Accelerator when you join. But what we have done for you guys is we put together these catch-up bonuses, because you've missed a lot in the last 5 years since we launched Titans Accelerator, and so we want to kind of bring out the highlights for you. So we put together sort of a greatest hits from the Titans Vault with a few select presentations. Jay and Perry, Clayton, Dan Kennedy, Ryan Levesque is in that as well. Jeff Walker is in that one too. So there's a collection of these private presentations that these guys gave at Titans Mastermind events. We are going to give you the last 2 years of swipe files and then Gary Bensavinga, where he came out of retirement to speak at the Titans of Direct Response event. We're going to give you that recording. We have members of Agora who are in Titans Accelerator, and one of the gifts that they gave us early on was this internal document about a process that they run their copy through. They call it how to turn mundane copy into audacious copy, and that's when you join, you get into the TXL Facebook group. It's the first pinned post right there, but it's also in your welcome package, along with an interview that I did with the person at Agora who gave us this, and so it's she and I talking about how they use this document internally. And so you get that interview in your welcome packet. And then one of my personal favorites, I love this interview series that Ken McCarthy did with Gary Bensavinga, just, really breaking down like how does one of the best copywriters who ever lived, like how do they approach their work? How do they come up with these, really cool angles and hook ideas? And just what's their work process? So this is over, I think it's over 4-hour interview, because I know it's on 4 compact discs, but we digitized it. We're so you're not going to get disc or anything like that, but we digitized it so you can have it when you sign up. And then the Breakthrough Advertising Study Group that we've talked about before, there were 7 of those calls, and we're going to give you all of those. So this is basically kind of what the boot camp was born out of, and part of that includes the presentation from Paris Lampropolis. So for you guys, if you decide to continue on with us, which we'd love, and obviously no pressure, that's sort of not our style here, but we want to continue working with you. Like, you guys are fans of Breakthrough Advertising and Gene, like, you're our kind of people, and so to entice you even further, what we've decided to do is actually to give you your investment back that you made in this boot camp. So Titans Accelerator is already just a crazy low price at $2,000 a year. That's we know it's underpriced, and we don't really care, because we're about connection. We intentionally built something that's not scalable because of how high touch everything is inside of Titans Accelerator. And so we're going to give you back the $300 that you invested to be a part of this boot camp. And so when you join, it's $1,700 a year for as long as you're a member. And this is a link where you can go and sign up. And this is going to be a live offer until this Sunday. And after this Sunday, it doesn't mean that you can't join. It just means this particular offer is done. So you can join us at any time, whenever it makes sense, but just wanted to share for this particular bonus structure that we put together in this price that expires on May 25th. So anybody who is interested, we'd love to have you in Accelerator. The boot camp gave you a really good taste of what it's like to be in our world. And obviously the call last week hopefully enticed you further, because that's sort of what our calls are like. It's this blending of the old school and new school, and it's just one of the unique things about Titans, in my opinion. And I know we've got TXL members on the call here, and any of them I know would be open to if you have questions, they'll tell you what it's like, and you can check me on any of this. I'm not being hyperbolic about anything. Just would love for you guys to come and let us work with you for the next 12 months inside the group. So that's what we got today. And so we've got some time. If you guys want to talk about anything with this offer, if you want to revisit anything from the boot camp, if you've got other questions, happy to talk about those as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And the 8th Breakthrough Advertising Bootcamp is almost at the end here.
Someone was asking in the chat about, we have payment plans. The discount is for an annual membership, and that makes sense, right? Because an installment plan gives you, be able to, deal with cash flow, and we can't start discounting off of that. And So it's all automated in our billing system. So I don't want to blame the technicalities on it, but it's a commitment, right? I mean, and look, $1,700 is a different expenditure for different people than others. I get that. I can't if you're serious about your marketing, your copywriting, your need to have some people around you to support you, you know, I, I man, it's a ridiculously low price, even if you can't afford it. I hate to say that because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Um, and I'm not being flippant when I say that. And everywhere I go, and I go to expensive masterminds, you know, $20,000, $25,000 masterminds. And when I talk about Titans Accelerator, I mean, there's not one person that doesn't tell me I'm stupid for charging such a low price. But the reason why it's beneficial for me and the group is that I get a lot more people and I get a lot more variety of businesses, of experiences. Sometimes people come in and it's a little over their head, but that's okay too. It really is because, there's stuff. Luke and Mario were over my head last Thursday. I don't know about you guys. So, it's okay. You don't have to know everything coming in, but man, be curious. Go on an inquiry. And I just think, I mean, look, I'm not objective, obviously, but anybody who wouldn't take the offer, I'm not going to tell you you're silly, but it's such an amazing offer, and I want all of you in the group because this boot camp's been fantastic, and I want to stay in. I can't stay in touch with you the same way that I can. You're all my friends for life, guaranteed, but I can't stay in touch with you the same way if you're outside of Titans Accelerator. So, and Chris too. I mean, we're there for you, but that's where you got to pay to play a little bit. So I don't want to say that I'm worth millions to people, but you know just saying I do charge $2,000 an hour for a consulting call. So just to give you a sense, like this is less for a full year. You're getting what I charge less than what I charge for an hour. Um, whether you can say I'm not worth $2,000 an hour, and that's fine. And actually, technically, for Titans Accelerator members, I do one-on-one consulting, which I don't do a lot of. I do it at $2,000 an hour because I don't really do much of it, and I don't care to do much of it unless it's for a Titans Accelerator member. And for a Titans Accelerator member, I only charge $1,000 an hour, and you get more than an hour because I always over deliver. So I've never done an hour phone call that went an hour. Just FYI. I'm not proud of that. Dan Kennedy would tell me that, I'm giving away my time for free, but I don't care.
Or giving a wedding speech that's only 5 minutes long, apparently.
Yeah. 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 5 minutes that went 12 minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
David, you had your hand up a while ago. I'm sure it was in reference to something about Gene. So if you want to share that now.
Very irrelevant, and I did end up putting it in the chat somewhere, but I wanted to say that the Dakota is just off of Central Park West, like, I don't know, not even half a block down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right on the park.
Yeah. And talk about minutia. The 12 Smiling Swindlers headline on the Magalog, was it the number numerical 12 or was it written as the word 12?
Good question. I have it in my blog. It was done. I think it was TWELVE. I'm going to find it while we take another question.
One of the things you'll get a little bit later this week from us, I'm going to send out a feedback survey and we do that after every one, but just to get your quick feedback on the boot camp, and if you would be willing to leave a testimonial for us, either written or video, I appreciate that. We would update our sales page with those. But yeah, are there any any questions or kind of on our last call, anything you want to share as we're wrapping up? No pressure.
Where do where do I leave the testimonial? Sorry.
I'm going to send just a follow-up survey. Actually, I'll do that today.
Yeah, I'll 100%
I'll
send
do
you
that
guys a
today.
great testimonial.
Yeah. It's 12 TWELVE. David.
Awesome.
Although that's testable, I think.
It's
Of
testimonial.
course, the book
Nina?
doesn't exist anymore, so it's not testable for that book. But the idea of testing a number versus spelling out a number, I don't know what. I'm going to ask Eric Betwell, who is the copywriter, what his thinking was on that at some point.
Yeah. Nina?
Thanks, Chris. So a quick question. So I'm just starting to work with somebody who actually is in Titans. She's come on and going to work with her for a little while, and we're just starting A/B testing on Facebook with some ads that she's putting out. We're really speaking to two different audiences, but we want to see who grabs it. But then based upon that, then I'm supposed to go in and make changes to the copy of my landing page for my website for everybody to see of all the different markets we're looking for. And how quickly does one have to jump on that? Because this is just our first round of A/B testing.
There's no downside in jumping on it immediately. It's an
Okay.
easy switch. Remember, I talked about templating copy on a landing page? The
Right.
copy for the landing page is basically the same because the offer is the same, but
Right.
it's just the leads and the headline of people who are going to land there. So, having all you need is a different URL or a slash with a different whatever. I mean, there's no reason not to do it early on, especially when it's only two. That's
Okay.
that's what my gut tells me.
All right. Because I use Webflow, which is a bit of a complicating.
Now you're above my pay grade.
I know. Well, me too, because you have to code things in and
Yeah, I understand.
so I have to hire out every time I do this.
Right. So if you have to hire out and you don't have the money to hire out, then don't do it. That's fine because at least you'll have something. They have to go
Right.
somewhere, and you need a landing page. Make sure the landing page though is solid for both markets.
Right.
And it may not be, because you had two distinct markets as I remember.
Right.
So, one size fits all is always dangerous.
Fair. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chris, you have anything to add to that?
Not in the way you would think, because when you mentioned Webflow, that I'd been looking at Webflow a while back, and I was like, that it does seem a little complicated. Even I get tech, but it made me think. I've just started playing around with this tool called Gamma, which you guys may have seen, but Gamma.app, and I first heard about it. Yeah, Brandon. I was like, I bet Brandon knows about it. I first started playing around with it because if you do presentations like this thing, I just give it a Google Doc of what I want to talk about, and then it just 10 seconds it designs the whole thing. But they also do landing pages the same way. So if you heard like vibe coding or vibe marketing, where you just put in the AI, like, I need to create a landing page for XYZ product, and it builds the whole thing right there, and you can go in and tweak it and edit. And you can actually put it on your domain too. Or anyway, but that's where my mind went, is
Oh,
Gamma.app.
nice. And
Yeah.
does it include SEO and it takes care of all of the
No, I don't think it's. I mean,
stuff?
they would probably say it does because they have a website builder. I can't say it because I haven't tried to do that. So
Right.
I would just look on their site and see if they have the answers to those questions. But for presentations, for like standing up really quick landing pages,
Right.
it looks like a really great solution.
I mean, the right direction. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. I'll play
Yeah.
around with that. Thank you.
Yeah. Tina, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember like a specific. She's asking, does the group ever have a tech session or two? Those kind of come up more organically, like if somebody's posting something, and because what happens in the Facebook groups, people will share a promotion they're working on, or they want to get feedback, or they're running into a tech issue, and they'll post in the group, and they'll get help that way. I don't know that we've had like specific tech people on to talk about those. It's just kind of, now
Yeah,
it's just
you
all
can.
it's just all woven into everything.
Right, right. And also, like, you can bring any tech question to a call, especially during coffee. We begin at 10:30 as opposed to 11 o'clock on Thursdays, and that's the perfect, you want to have the full group for the call, but usually we have 25, 30 people on by then, and you can bring a tech issue, and usually there's someone on the call that knows something about it, or they'll give you a referral. That's the other thing. I mean, the resources that are available of everybody's contacts, you're buying everybody's Rolodex, basically. And I know I just dated myself by using the term Rolodex, but you know what I mean. You're buying everybody's contact list.
Yep.
And the Facebook group is a great place to post questions like that. And you'll always get at least one or two responses from members if they know something about it.
Yep.
So tech issues do get covered.
They do for sure. Yeah. Well, if there's any other questions, we can discuss those or anything to bring up. Otherwise, we can.
Tom, the weekly call is at 4:30, I think your time, right? It's 10:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern time. You're in the UK? Are you in the UK?
I'm in France, but yeah,
France, yeah, 6 hours.
I just mistyped it. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
thank
6
you.
hours.
And it's every other week, Tom. It's not every week. Just
No, it's usually 2 to 3 Thursdays a month.
Mhm.
The first
I have
quarter
a-
we did 2 a month just for the first time. And no one complained, but I did. I just didn't think it was enough. So I try to do each quarter I try to do at least 7 calls, sometimes 8. In fact, we have a call this Thursday and then next Thursday, and that'll be 3 in a row. Because then I'm going to Europe, so I'll be away for 3 weeks. So we might go 3 weeks in a row and then skip 3 weeks. But generally, it's I shoot for 2 to 3 a month, and usually shoot for like 8 a quarter, basically. Sometimes it's 7, could be 9, if I do 3 in 3 months. But I think that's a good. I mean, it's funny that happened because when we launched the group, it was December of 2019, pre-pandemic. So I always say that I knew the pandemic was coming by launching a virtual mastermind in December of 2019. That's not true, but it worked out. And then when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, I was gonna do 1 call a month. That was the original offer. 1 live call a month for 2 hours. And, in the spirit of over delivery and also in the spirit of everybody being home and not doing anything else, we went to weekly calls I think we did it until from March, April, May, probably for 4 or 5 months. We did a call every single week.
Mm-hmm.
That was tiring. That was, I need a week off now and then, especially I travel once in a while and it's hard to make the call every week. But, no, I wasn't traveling. I was, we're all home. So yeah, so that was an exception. But I think it helped me realize that one a month was definitely not enough. I experimented in the first quarter with 2 a month, and I didn't feel like I didn't get any complaints. I'm wondering how people who are in Accelerator felt about when we did if 2 a month is enough for them. But I wanted to expand it a little bit.
Yeah. Gulfum asked a good question. Some of you guys may be wondering about it. So we're going to be taking the Facebook group down, not right away. It's going to be up for a couple more weeks. But before we do, each of you will get a login info for a private membership portal where you can access all these recordings from the boot camp, the slides, the prompts, the worksheets, everything is going to be there. And when we send out the login, the Facebook group will still be live. So we kind of overlap those two. So just in case anybody else was wondering, that's sort of the process there.
And the dissolving the Facebook group eventually is not a punishment for not joining Titans Accelerator. It's just that we like to monitor Facebook groups. We don't like them being out there as freelancers. And, you know, and also it's not just the supervision, it's that people are going to lose interest. And that's why, you know, we really want you to transition into Titans Accelerator. And that Facebook group is always active. It's always there. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, there is a method to our madness, but it's basically because the Facebook group has diminishing returns, you know, a month or two after the boot camp dissolves. So that's why we dissolved the Facebook group for the boot camp. But you will get as Chris said, make sure you take all the access to everything that you paid for in the boot camp before we dissolve it.
Yep. Okay. Just responded to a message here. So I think we can go ahead and wrap.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll be emailing the people who are boot campers. We'd like to see you all in Accelerator. So hopefully this won't be the last time we will see you on a Zoom screen. We have a great call this Thursday. We've got 2 Titan spotlights with 2 members doing presentations, and you'll get a sense of what that's about. And you can think about doing your own Titan spotlight in the future. And we also have a hot seat, so that'll be a different kind of call than last Thursday where we had, you know, 4 outside speakers. So we go all over, but this week will be an amazing call. And then on the 29th, actually the 29th will be a really good call because we have one outside speaker, a copywriter who talks about developing your voice. But I think we're open to doing some hot seats that day. We might be able to do a spotlight that day. So there'll be some open mic possibilities, as I call them, on the 29th. So
awesome. Well, thank you guys for being part of the 8th boot camp here. I hope it was as enjoyable for you as it was for Brian and I to put these on. And then, you know, whether you're in TXL or not, as Brian said, we're friends for life. We'd love to even see you in a future boot camp. So yeah, you guys are awesome. And we'll be following up with you a little bit later this week, and I'll send that survey out today. So cheers. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.